We were now at part 2, chapter 2. 2. But yeah, I've got no book on the screen once again. So you gotta listen to me very clearly. I usually recap as well, though. So this book is about Argonians. Come on! Come on, man. It's about Enaig and Glim. They're two Argonians. One day, a flying island rocks up to Black Marsh, and they're like, "What the hell?" And it starts killing everyone. So they get on top of this island and investigate. And now they're on top of it, and they're investigating. Yes. And last time, Mirglim got kidnapped by someone to kill them. The classic Argonian UFO story, right? Yes. I wouldn't call it a UFO, but I mean, I suppose that works because we don't know where they're from. Like they said they're not dangerous. But like, where are they actually from? Very interesting. Anyway, let's go. You're the new Scraw, the man said. It wasn't a question. Mirgalim nodded, trying to size the fellow up. He looked more or less like one of Anaig's race, although with a noticeable yellowish cast to his skin and eyes. He had a long, doleful face and red hair. He was wearing the same black loincloth that Glim now wore. "My name is Mirglim," he offered. "Yeah? You can call me Wirt. And what are you, Mirglim? They say you don't need the vapors." They'd been walking through a stone corridor, but now they entered a modest cave. Water poured from an opening in the wall, ran in a stream across the floor, and vanished into a pool in the middle of the chamber. Several globes of light were fixed to the ceiling, nearly obscured by the ferns growing around them. The rest of the cave was felted in moss. Mirglim found it pleasant. Eh? Glim realized he'd been asked a question. "My people call ourselves Saxlil," he said. "Others call us Argonians. I'm not sure what you mean by vapors." "It didn't come out of the sump," Wirt said. "Nothing like you has ever come out of the sump, which means you ain't from Umbriel, ain't that so?" "It is," Glim replied. "So I reckon you're one of them they were searching for down below. They found us." "Makes you, well, there ain't no word for it, is there? From somewhere else, or..." "Well, then welcome to the sump. A lovely place to work." He chuckled, but that turned abruptly into a nasty cough. He covered his mouth with the back of his hand, and Glim noticed it came away bloody. "Vapors," Wirt explained. "What are they?" "Well, see, I'm told you can breathe down there, but none of us can, not without the vapors. We go to the yellow cave and we breathe them in for a while, and then we can stay under until they wear off." "How long is that?" "Depends, a few hours usually, long enough to get some work done." "So what do we do?" "Well, I'm to show you, I am," Wirt said. That's where we're on to right now. I'll go to take the vapors. I won't be back here, because if I don't get in the water right away, I'll suffocate. So you just swim out and wait for me. Don't wander by yourself, and please, don't try to run away. You won't make it, and I'll pay the price." He watched Wirt go, then walked over to the pool and lowered himself in, letting the mild current take him along. The pool bent into a tube, and he could see light ahead. A moment later, he emerged in shallow water, just about as deep as he was tall. The sump spread out before him, a nearly perfectly circular lake in the bottom of a cone-shaped cavity. Umbriel City climbed up and away from him in all directions. Some of it hung above him. "Well, I am in the UK for over 14 years now, but I decided that I'll move back to Poland to join the Polish army. I start in August after I finish school." "Ah. Why have you decided to join the Polish army?" Just for fun, or does Poland have mandatory military service? Yeah, that's a good question, Victor. I hope you're doing well as well. Hello. Welcome, welcome. How's your weekend? My neck today is fucked, dude. He thought that if crows could build cities, they would look something like this. Vain, shiny, lopsided, brash, and bragging. A few moments later, Wirt's head appeared a few yards out. He gestured for Glim to follow. The shallows teemed with strange life. Slender, swaying amber rods covered in cilia, swimmers that seemed like some strange cross of fish and butterfly, living nets composed of globes propelling themselves with water jets and dragging fine webs between them. Centipede things as long as his arm and little shrimp-like things no bigger than his thumb claw. He stopped when he saw the body. At first he saw only a thick school of silverfish, but they parted at his approach. It had been a woman with dark skin and hair. Now bones were showing in places, and worms clustered on exposed organs. Shuddering, he turned away, but then he saw another, similar swarm of fish, and another to his right. He started at something in the edge of his vision, but it was only Wirt. They dropped the bodies from above or sent them down the slides. This is where they start. His voice was weird, thick with water in his lungs. Why were they killed? What do you mean? Most just died of something or other. I suppose a few might have been executed, but this is where we all end, ain't it? In the sump? He waved his hand vaguely. We collect a lot of stuff for the kitchens here. Orchid shrimp, rajum sap, infrons. These are all ingredients. You're not supposed to know what that means, by the way. Other things we fish for deeper, especially sheer teeth. You'll learn about that, but mostly you'll work in the deep sump. That's perfect for you. So come on, let's go to the drop. They swam on, with the water getting gradually deeper at first. He didn't have to be told what the drop was. He knew it when he saw it. The sump became a steeply curving cone that drove deep into the stone of Umbriel, and at the very bottom, in the narrowest place, an actinic light flashed like a ball of lightning. "What's that?" he asked. "That's a conduit to the ingenium," Wirt said. "The sump takes care of our bodies. The ingenium takes care of our souls and keeps the world running. I'd stay well clear of the conduit if I was you, or me, now that I think about it." Well, Glim thought, there's something an egg would want to report to her prince. If only I had some way of talking to her. He glanced at Wirt. He seemed not to be a bad fellow, but in the bigger picture, an egg's picture, that wouldn't matter. Though Wirt could temporarily breathe on the water, his body was clumsy, not built for swimming. Glim knew he could easily escape him. If he killed him first, that would probably give him more time. But if he survived long enough to find an egg and give her this bit of news, then what? How could he hide when he was the only one of his kind on Umbriel? He couldn't. Not for long. No, before he did something like that, he'd need to have a lot more information to pass on. Could the ingenium be damaged from the sump? From anywhere? If so, how? They descended about 2/3 of the way down the sump, and Wirt began moving toward what appeared to be translucent sacks stuck to the wall. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands, in all shapes and sizes. As he drew nearer, he could make out vague forms within the sacks. "These are being born," Wirt said. Curious, Glim moved closer, and to his astonishment found himself looking into a face. The eyes were closed, the features not fully formed, but it wasn't a child's face. It was that of an adult, just softer, flabbier than most. It was also hairless. I don't understand. Word grinned, plucked something from the water, and handed it to Glim. It was a sort of worm, very soft. It pulsed in and out, and with every contraction, a little jet of water squirted from one end of it. Other than that, it was featureless. That's a proform, Word said. When someone dies, the ingenium calls one of these down to the conduit and gives it a soul. It comes back up here and attaches to the wall, and someone grows. That's interesting, Glim said. He looked at the proform. You all started this? You all start as this? No matter what you end up looking like, this is what you really are? You've got funny questions in your head, Word said. We are what we are, and everyone is born like this? Everyone, from lord and lady to me, and well, not you, at least not yet. How are they born? Well, that's one of your jobs, to recognize when one of these is about to start breathing. You can tell by the color of the sac. It gets a sheen, like this one. Then you swim that up to the birth pool. That's another cave up in the shallows. What if you don't do it in time? They die, of course. That's why this job is the most important, really. And it's why you're so suited for it, see? Nah, they won't waste you much on gathering. This is where you'll be. He doubled over suddenly, and Glim realized he was coughing. A dark stain spread from his mouth and nostrils. Are you okay? Word gradually unfolded, then nodded. Why do the vapors hurt you like that? Why is Walter wet? I don't know. But I have to go up soon. Not lasting so long this time. Let's go see the birthing pool. As they started back up, Glim glanced back down towards the light, but he didn't see it. Instead, he saw a maw full of teeth gaping at him. Kuth! He gargled, jerking himself to the side and stroking hard to turn. The fish turned too, but not before he saw the thing was 15 feet long at least. Its tail was long, whip-like, and it had two great swimming fins set under it, like a whale. But those teeth would shame a shark to blush. Sheer-tooth, Worth shouted. You've made it mad somehow. Glim swam desperately, but the head kept right toward him, so he slashed at it with his claws. They caught, but didn't tear the creature's tough hide. He let go, then struck again, this time at the back, behind the head, and there he dug in. It couldn't bite him there. It could try, though. It thrashed like a snake in a hot skillet. He saw Wirt stab at it with his spear, only to be struck by the tail. The scrawl went limp in the water. Wonderful. He was starting to get dizzy, and his arms and shoulders were aching. He'd have to do something soon. Here's hoping your belly is soft, he thought. He let go with one set of claws and swung underneath. He was almost thrown clear, but one of the fins actually buffed him back to the belly, and he slashed with all his might. Again his claws caught. He sank in the other hand. The sheer tooth geared into a loop, and the force was such that he knew he could only hold on for another few minutes. But the same force dragged Glim down the belly, opening it up like a gutting knife, and he was engulfed in a cloud of blood. He kicked hard and swam free of the still twisting monster, but it had lost interest in him, focusing instead on its own demise. He realized suddenly that he'd forgotten Wirt. He had drifted down 50 or 60 feet. His eyes were closed and his chest was moving oddly. Glim slung Wirt over his back and kicked straight for the surface. He could feel the man quivering on his back. The light of the sun seemed a long way off. He burst into air and reversed his hold, keeping Wirt's head out of the sump as he vomited water from his lungs and began to struggle. His eyes opened, looking wild. He began to make horrible sucking sound that wasn't breathing. "Should I take you back under?" Glim asked. Wirt shook his head violently, but Glim wasn't sure if that was meant to be no or yes. But then he seemed to draw a real breath, and then another. They reached the shallows, where Glim could stand and Wirt could lean against him. "Sheer teeth, usually not so vicious," he said. "Usually don't attack us. Something about you is set it off. Maybe because the sump was still learning you. They thought you were an intruder." He glanced at Glim. "Thanks, by the way. I wouldn't have made it back up. I thought you were going to die anyway. It's always bad between." Wirt explained. "You don't want to be underwater when you start breathing air again, but then again, you still can't breathe air." "That's horrible," Glim said. "There must be some better way to do this. Sometimes a lord or lady will come down for a swim, and they have other ways, not like vapors. But the vapors are cheap, my friend. And so are we. Always more of us being born. You're different for now." "For now?" "Well, the sump knows you now. So does the Ingenium. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more of your sort pretty soon. And when there are enough of you, well, you'll be cheap too." "I'll be lurking for 20 to 30. I'll be right back." "Okay, Soy. I hope you're doing well, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Silly, don't breathe water. You're not a fish." That's true. Not to brag a lot, I'm doing the voluntary compulsory military service because I've fully decided that I will join the military. I will. Wait, let's continue. Chapter 3. When Atribus, Gulan, and Rathasa arrived at Ion, dawn was just leaking into the sky. It was cool, and the breeze smelled of dew and green leaves. A rooster gave notice to the hens it was time to face the day. The town was waking too. Smoke from hearths coiled up through the light fog, and people were already in the streets. "It's not much to look at, this town," Rathasa noticed. Atribus nodded. Ion wasn't picturesque. A few of the houses were rickety wooden structures, faded grey, but most were of stone or brick and simply built. Even the small chapel of Dibella was rather plain. "It's not very old," he said. "There wasn't anything here at all 50 years ago." "Then, well, do you know what that is?" They had reached the town square, and he didn't have to point to indicate what he was talking about. The square was mostly stone, oddly cracked, and melted as if from terrible heat or some strange force. Two bent columns projected up in the middle, each about 10 feet high, and together they resembled the truncated horns of an enormous steer. "Yes, I've seen them before. The ruins of an oblivion gate." "Right. Well, when this one opened, it opened right in the middle of a company of soldiers recalled from the south to fortify the imperial city. More than half of them were killed, including the commander. They would have all died, but a captain named Tertius Ione managed to pull the survivors together and withdraw. But rather than retreat all the way to the imperial city, he instead recruited farmers and hunters from the countryside and Pell's Gate. Then he made them into something more than what they were. They returned and slaughtered the Daedra here, and when they were done with that, he let them through the gate itself." "Into oblivion?" "Yes. He'd heard that the gate at Kvatch had been closed somehow by entering it. So Ione went in with about half of his troops and left the rest here to guard against anything else coming out. It looks like he closed it. It closed, but Captain Ione was never seen again. One of his men, a bossman named Fenton, appeared weeks later, half dead and half mad. From what little he said that made sense, they reckoned Ione and the rest sacrificed themselves to give Fenton the chance to sabotage the portal. The bossman died the next day, raving. Anyway, Ione was gone for a long time before the gate exploded, and in the meantime his company built some fortifications and simple buildings. Once the gate was gone, it was a convenient and relatively safe place, so a lot of people stayed, and over time the town grew. He turned about, spreading his arms. That's why I like this Ione, because it's new, because it speaks to the spirit of heroism that lies at the heart of each of us. Yes, there are no quaint old buildings or first era statues, but it's an honest place built by brave people. And you have a house here? Ratassa asked. A hunting lodge in the hills just across town. I tried Dr. Pepper, but it has a medicine taste for me. A medicine taste? Interesting. Huh. I must try it someday. Tried. Fuck, my dyslexia kicked in. It's okay, I understand what you meant, don't worry. That's quite a hunting lodge, the Red Guard said when they entered the gate. Something about the tone irked him, made him feel a bit defensive. It wasn't that big. It was built on the plan of an ancient Nord longhouse, each beam and cornice festooned with carvings of dragons, bulls, boars, leering wild men, and dancing long-tressed women. I suppose after the simplicity of Ione, it comes as a bit of a shock. Atribus admitted. My uncle built it about 15 years ago. He used to bring me down here, and left it to me when he died. No, I didn't mean to criticize it. And yet, he somehow felt she had been critical of something. He pushed past it. There were other matters at hand now. They're all here, Gulam? He asked. They are. And the provisions? You had plenty in your stores, more than we can carry. Well, I don't see any reason to dally then. He raised his voice and spread his arms. It's good to have you with me, my brothers and sisters in arms, he called out. Give us a shout. The Empire! The Empire! They erupted enthusiastically. Today we ride to the unknown, fellows, against something I believe to be as deadly and dangerous to our world as that Oblivion Gate down there was when it opened. Maybe more so. We've never done anything this dangerous. I'll tell you that now. What is it, Treb? That was John, an orc of prodigious size, even for his race. So, very big size, I guess. He settled his hands on his hips and lifted his chin. Then he laid it out for them. When he was finished, the silence that followed had an odd, unfamiliar quality to it. Right. I know there are only 52 of us, he said, but just below us Captain Ione went into oblivion with fewer than that, and shut down that gate. The Empire expects no less from us, and we are better equipped in every way than he was. Even better, we have someone there, inside of this monstrous thing, someone to lead us in, and help us find the heart, and rip it out. We can do this, friends. We're with you, Treb, Galan shouted, and the rest of them joined him, but it seemed, somehow, that a note was still missing. Had he finally asked too much of them? No, they would follow him, and this would knit them all together would knit them all the more tightly as a band. An hour, my friend, to settle yourselves for the ride. Then we begin. But as they dispersed, there seemed to be much furtive whispering. The grass still sparkled with dew when they reached the Red Ring Road. The vast track, the circumscribed Lake Rumai. Across the morning gold of the lake stood the imperial city itself. A god's wagon wheel lay down on an island in the center of the lake. The outer curve of the white wall was half in shadow, and he would make out three of what would, in any other city, be deemed truly spectacular guard towers. But those were dwarfed by the magnificent spoke of the wheel, the white gold tower, thrusting up towards the unknowable heavens. He saw Radhasa also staring at the tower. It was there before the city, he told her, long before. It is very old, and no one is quite sure what it does. What do you mean, what it does? Well, understand first, I'm not a scholar of the tower. Understood? But you must know more than I. Well, some think that the white gold tower and some other towers around Tamriel help, well, hold the world up, or something like that. Others believe that before the dragon broke, the tower helped protect us from invasion from oblivion. It holds up the world? I'm not saying it right, he replied, realizing he couldn't actually remember the details of that tutorial. They help keep Mundus, the world, from dissolving back into oblivion, or something like that. Anyway, everyone seems to agree it has power, but no one knows exactly what kind. Okay, she replied and shrugged. So how do we get to Blackmarsh? We'll get to a bridge in a bit and cross the upper Nibbin. From there, we'll take the yellow road southeast until we cross the Silverfish River. Then it's overland. No roads after that except the ones we make. He grinned at the thought of being in wild country again. I wish I knew more about Cyrodiil. Well, you have an opportunity to learn now. She was silent for a moment. This person, the spy on the floating island, how do you speak to them? You don't believe me? Of course I believe you, my Treb. I'm just curious. Do you have some sort of scrying ball like in the old tales? Something like that, he replied. Very mysterious, she answered. Must keep a bit of mystery, he replied. We certainly must, she said with a flirty grin. Oh my goodness. I've gotten used to this kind of life, but I really want the war to end. Thank you for supporting Ukraine. Of course, of course. But yeah, I do hope for you that the war ends soon as well. But it doesn't seem like Russia's gonna budge anytime soon. But yeah, I hope for the best for you and your country and your people. At noon they stopped to water the horses in the springs near the overgrown ruins of Sardarvar Lead, where the ancient Aelid elves had once herded his ancestors, bred them for work and pleasure. Atrobus found a quiet spot and took the bird from his haversack. He saw Aneg's hands working at some sort of dough, the cherry red fire pits beyond, and the hellish creatures that swarmed about the place. He dared not say anything now, but something in him needed to see what she saw, to make sure she was alive and well. His father and Hiram were right, in a way. This was in part about Aneg. She picked him to send Ku because she believed in him, because she knew that he would answer her prayers and do this thing that needed doing, even if that meant opposing his own father. He had no intention of letting her down, and tonight, when they could whisper to each other across the leads, he would give her the good news that he was on the way. He was still thinking of that He was still thinking about that an hour later, when he heard a dull whoomp, and half of his men caught fire. For a moment, he could only stare, as if we're watching a theatric. He saw Eris and Klaus staggering, beating their hands at the blue flames that engulfed them, their mouths working to produce sounds unrecognizable as human. There was Golan, not burning, but trying to beat the fire off of Pash. But then he suddenly had strange quills moving and growing from his back. It finally settled through his brain that they were ambushed, and he drew his sword, looking wildly for the enemy as arrows came whirring from every direction. Radhasa was still next to him, her own weapon drawn, and an odd look of joy on her face. The last thing he saw was her blade swinging towards his head. He clambered up from black depths. Oh my god. Get out of here, bro. I think I might just do 2 hours today. I'm actually so sleepy. I want to take a nap so bad. I know I should have left my coffee till now. No! That was definitely a mistake. Right. He clambered up from black depths, but it was a slippery slope. He had little moments when he thought he was awake, but they were full of pain and strange movement, and in the end might have just been a dream within a dream, a little the dark lady's whimsy, a little hope before the nightmares had him again. Finally, though, he opened his eyes and there was blood caked in his mouth and nostrils. He was face down in the dirt, and one eye was covered tightly by a cloth of some kind. He tried to push up, but his hands were behind him, and from the pain in his wrists, he knew they were bound. He tried to call out, but all that emerged was a croak. "There you are," a feminine voice said. He flopped his head over and saw Radhasa, sitting against a tree, eating an apple. Her horse was behind her, and so was his, along with a Khajiit and a Bosmer he'd never seen before. Speaking in low tones a few yards away, "He tried to kill me," he said. "No, I didn't. I've hit you with a flat. Could just as easily have been the edge." She smiled. "I was supposed to kill you, though. Why? If I told you that, then I would have to kill you." She replied, "Don't worry your pretty head about it, Treb. What happened to the rest?" "Ah, well, there's a pity. Some pretty good people just died for you." He tried to understand that. How many, traitor? How many of my people did you kill?" "Well, unless you still count me, I'm thinking you don't, I would have to say everyone. Everyone, even little Dario." She licked juice from her fingers. "He's just a boy." "Not anymore. Graduated with the rest of us." "Why?" he sobbed. His eyes stung with tears. Again, not telling. A little mystery, remember? Oh dear, she's falling asleep and sleep mumbling. I'm actually mumbling, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm really struggling right now. I'm like, you know, keep closing my eyes and opening them. Reading yourself to sleep. I really am, bro. I think I'm literally just exhausted from the day. Like I said, it was like 5 hours of walking in constant sun and stuff. Literally, as soon as we entered the Uber to go home, I literally just like was knocked out. I was so sleepy, and I've not been able to really take a nap or something after that. I gotta go. It seems Finland has a hockey game. Have a good stream. Thank you, Victor. I hope Finland wins. You got this. But I'm so sorry if I'm mumbling. But yeah, I'm going to try to read till 9 p.m. and then I think I might end the stream early because I'm simply just sleeping. But I don't want to cancel the stream, obviously, because I planned to stream. By, yes, I think 9 is as far as I can go. Wow, let's have a drink. Let's have a drink. Yummy. That was actually such a nice walk, though. We saw so many wild animals. We saw like rabbits. We saw a fox. It was so cool. It was a really beautiful fox, very like vibrant orange. And we saw some pheasants. We saw some sheep and cows as well. We met a border collie as well who was herding some cows. It was so cute. He was so cute. I pet some horses as well. Because in the UK, you've got like walking paths that basically go through meadows where there's like sheep, goats, horses. So a lot of times when we got into the horse ones, the horses would like walk up to you to be like, who are you? So we pet a few horses, and we also met a little like bird. It was like a baby bird. I don't know what type it is again, but it was like one of the yeah, you know, it's just one of the small bird types. But it was a baby, and it like jumped out of the bush, but it couldn't actually fly yet. So I think maybe it fell out or something. I'm not sure. It was quite like far though. It was almost like fully grown, but it was still baby. So it was just like jumping around. It was so cute. Oh my god, I could have died. Oh. But yeah, we saw so much wildlife everywhere. It was really cute. It was really nice to see all that. Oh, we saw a falcon as well. I love watching falcons. They're so cool. Yeah, it was a good day. And I saw a fox yesterday as well. So I saw 2 foxes this weekend. But yesterday it was like in the middle of town in someone's like garden. It was really cute because it was like a fox who was playing with a magpie, or the magpie was like annoying him. The magpie was like following behind him, like bopping around and stuff, and the fox was like, leave me alone and stuff. It was really cute. Yeah, it was when I went litter picking, because I went litter picking again. I once again did 2 full garbage bags of plastic. It was hey, fox and magpie, best frenemies. Yeah, honestly, it was the cutest thing I've seen ever. I just felt so blessed to see that, you know? I've never seen as many foxes as I have in the UK. Like, I literally saw a fox in London, of all places. Like, oh, they're such gorgeous creatures. They really are. But yeah, the litter picking made me. I've been wanting to litter pick again for ages. And now that it's an extended weekend, I felt a bit more comfortable spending my time with it. 'Cause I'm like, well, I've got more days, so why not? And I know every time I do it, it's gonna make me feel nice, and I do enjoy doing it. It's just always like doing it, you know, going there and then starting. It was really great. It was really upsetting though, because like a lot of the soil had plastic bags, like already fully caked with like dirt and everything. So a lot of it was already kind of falling apart. It was either stuck into the ground or it was already like ripping into pieces. So I basically couldn't get rid of it. It was really sad. So upsetting that people. I found a full ass like a champagne bottle as well, like super big, like ginormous, just in the middle of like a parky bit, and I was like, who the fuck is drinking this in a place like this? It's just like, why would you do that? Bunch of weirdos, bro. I also picked up some vapes, of course. Oh, I love people that litter vapes. So funny. From New Year's, probably people going out to watch the fireworks. No, but it was like, it's basically like a path. And around the path, there's a bunch of trees and like, you know, weeds and flowers and things. So it's literally a straight path. So with a lot of basically trees covering the sky, so you can't actually see anything. But I guess I mean, I suppose in the winter there's no like leaves, so I guess you can see better. But still I feel like you wouldn't really be in there, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but that was the main thing I found in that place though, like alcohol. I found loads of cans of beer, loads of bottles of beer. So I definitely know what type of people are littering over there. It was not hard to guess. But yes. It was a bit frustrating though, because I remember walking there earlier in the year, like February, and there was way less weeds, so I could see very clearly where all of the trash was. But because, you know, it's spring and everything, all of the weeds have like overgrown so heavily to the point that I couldn't find anything anymore. It was all like hidden in between the shrub and stuff, so I really had to dig in there, and I got like loads of scratches on my legs and stuff from the thorns. So that kind of sucked. So I think I'm probably gonna leave that area until winter comes again, because I think it's gonna be easier to find things that way. Because now it's just like there's no way you can find things like that. Teens, probably teens, yeah. But it's kind of a rich area. I mean, I wouldn't say rich, but it's a new development of like apartments, and the apartments look quite expensive. And in front of that, there's also like new built homes and everything. So it kind of feels like not a place that teens would live. I mean, I suppose they can just go up there, right? But I don't know. I mean, what do teens get up to nowadays anyway? I don't know. And UK teens are different, of course, than what I grew up knowing. So, who knows? Who knows? All I know is there's probably just a bunch of drunk people that hang out there for some reason. So he has a very strange imagination. Well, they drink less from what I've heard. What, teens nowadays? I mean, yes, because a lot of pubs are closing down actually because they're not getting enough customers. But also, I don't know, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think nowadays people are wanting to be healthier, so they drink less. but I also think it's just like it's too expensive to drink anyway. So it's definitely a combination of the two. So a lot of pubs are having to close because they don't get enough customers. Yeah. But of course, there are still teens that drink and they don't do it in pubs, so they hang out in the woods. I think that's so weird. I've never done that. I've never hung out in the woods to drink. It's just such a strange, like a foreign concept to me. Um, I have, you have. Maybe it's like a small town thing. But then where you're from, I don't think that's a small town place either. There's like, I don't know. Where did I drink? Well, we kind of just went to parties and we drank there, you know. Like, there were a few times where we drank at home, but that was only when our parents weren't home and stuff. That's the only times. Um, like, yeah, I never went to the woods to drink. That seems so weird to me. That seems so strange to me. I don't know why. Yeah, it must be like I would say that must be a small town thing, but I am from a small town. So I don't really like what I know, like what we did was go to farm parties basically. Like farm parties is basically that you've got a huge circus tent in the middle of like a meadow in bumfuck nowhere, you know, in the middle of a farm field. And then you get a massive fuck off tent in there. You got some toilet boxes outside. You've always got a